The handcuffs bit into my wrists as I knelt on my own front lawn at midnight, watching my wife Nora laugh into her phone screen. 23 years of marriage, and this is how it ends, with me face down in the dirt while she giggles with her boyfriend. "You should see his face," Nora squealed into the FaceTime call, flipping the camera toward me. "Graham looks like a kicked dog." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The voice on the other end, Lance, her coworker from the salon, cackled with delight. "Babe, you're absolutely savage. I can't believe you actually called 911 on your own husband." Detective Alvarez stood over me, shaking his head in disgust. "Mrs. O'Neill, are you telling me this was some kind of prank?" Nora tucked a strand of bleached hair behind her ear, still grinning. "Oh, come on, it's hilarious. Graham's been working late every night for months. I thought it would be funny to give him a little scare when he came home." "A little scare?" I finally found my voice. "You told them I was an armed intruder breaking into our house?" "Well, you did look pretty suspicious sneaking around in the dark," she said, not even trying to hide her amusement. "Besides, you're always so serious. I thought you needed to lighten up." The other officer, a young guy who looked embarrassed to be part of this circus, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, filing a false police report is a serious crime. We had 3 units respond to this call, thinking we had a dangerous situation." Lance's voice crackled through the phone speaker. "Tell them it was just a harmless joke. Graham's fine, aren't you, buddy?" I stared at my wife, really seeing her for the first time in years. The way she held that phone like a shield, performing for her audience, the complete lack of remorse in her eyes, the casual cruelty that I'd somehow learned to accept as normal. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm just fine." But I wasn't fine, not even close. 20 minutes later, after the cops left with stern warnings about wasting police resources, I sat in my kitchen staring at Nora as she made herself a sandwich like nothing had happened. "You know they record everything, right?" I said. She shrugged. "So what? It's not like anyone will see it." "Body cameras, Nora. It's all public record." For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. "What do you mean, public record?" "I mean, anyone can request that footage. Your friends, your family, your boss at the salon." I stood up slowly, my knees still aching from being forced to the ground. "Your daughter." Sophie was away at college, but she'd be home for Thanksgiving in 2 weeks. How would I explain to our 19-year-old daughter that her mother thought it was funny to have her father arrested? "Oh, please, you're being dramatic," Nora waved me off. "It's not like I actually hurt you. You humiliated me in front of the entire neighborhood. Mrs. Patterson next door saw everything through her window. By tomorrow morning, half the town will know about this." Nora finally looked up from her sandwich. "Maybe if you came home at a reasonable hour instead of sneaking around like a criminal, this wouldn't have happened." "I was fixing my truck in our driveway. You could see me from the kitchen window." "How was I supposed to know that? You didn't tell me you were going outside." The casual gaslighting hit me like a slap. This was how she operated. Twist everything until somehow I was the one at fault. I'd been accepting this treatment for so long that I'd forgotten what it felt like to be angry instead of just tired. "Where were you tonight, Nora?" She froze with the sandwich halfway to her mouth. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I got home at 11:30. Your car was here, but you weren't. Then suddenly you appear at the window when the cops show up, fully dressed like you'd been out somewhere." "I was taking a bath. Your hair is dry, and you're wearing makeup." The silence stretched between us like a wire about to snap. Finally, she set down her sandwich and looked me straight in the eye. "I was at Lance's place, okay? We were working on inventory reports for the salon." "Until 11 o'clock at night?" "It's a big job, Graham. You wouldn't understand." There it was, the truth, delivered with the same casual contempt she'd shown while I was handcuffed on our lawn. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I walked to our home office and opened the laptop we shared for bills and household stuff. It took me about 30 seconds to find what I was looking for in her text messages, which automatically synced to the computer. "Lance, can't wait to see you tonight. My place at 9? Nora, already on my way. Graham won't be home until late. Lance, perfect. I've got wine and that thing you like. Nora, you're terrible. I love it." And then, later, "Lance, that was amazing. You should prank Graham more often." Nora, "I'm thinking about calling the cops on him when he gets home. Would that be too mean?" Lance, "Do it. I'll stay on FaceTime so I can watch." Nora, "You're so bad. I love you." Lance, "Love you too, babe." I screenshotted everything and emailed it to myself. Then I kept digging. The affair had been going on for 8 months. Lance Pritchard, assistant manager at Glamour Shot Salon where Nora worked. Married, 2 kids, lived in the fancy subdivision across town. The messages were explicit, detailed, and showed a level of planning that made my stomach turn. They had regular meetups twice a week. They'd taken a weekend trip to Chicago last month when Nora told me she was visiting her sister. They'd been laughing about me for months, my work schedule, my appearance, my boring personality. But tonight's prank was special. They'd planned it together, choreographed it like a performance. The idea was to humiliate me so completely that I'd be too broken to fight back when she asked for a divorce. Well, they got the divorce part right. I spent the rest of the night making copies of everything. Bank statements showing cash withdrawals that coincided with her dates. Credit card receipts from restaurants and hotels. Her location history from Google, which she'd never thought to turn off. By morning, I had enough evidence to bury her in divorce court, but that felt too easy, too clean. She wanted to play games? Fine. I'd show her how games were really played. The first thing I did was drive to the police station and request a copy of the body camera footage from last night's incident. It cost me $25 and took about an hour to process. The footage was even worse than I remembered. You could clearly hear Nora laughing, see her filming me with her phone, catch every word of her conversation with Lance. The cops looked disgusted. I looked like a beaten dog. Perfect. I uploaded the video to a private YouTube channel and sent the link to exactly 3 people. Nora's boss Sal, her sister Janet, and her best friend Michelle. The message was simple. Thought you might want to see what Nora's been up to. Then I drove to work and pretended it was a normal day. Nora called me around noon, screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You bastard! How could you send that video to my boss? Send what video? Don't play dumb with me. Sal saw the footage of last night. He's furious. Oh, that video. I just thought people should know the truth about what happened. The truth? The truth is that it was a harmless prank and you're trying to ruin my life. How am I ruining your life, Nora? I just shared some footage that's already public record. Anyone could have requested it. Sal is talking about firing me. He says I'm a liability to the salon's reputation. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to stage your little performance. She hung up on me. 5 minutes later, she called back. Graham, please. You have to call Sal and tell him it was all a misunderstanding. Was it a misunderstanding? Yes, of course it was. So you didn't plan it with Lance? You didn't stay on FaceTime with him so he could watch me get arrested? The silence told me everything I needed to know. I want a divorce, I said calmly. What? You heard me. I'll have papers drawn up by the end of the week. Graham, wait. I hung up and turned off my phone. That evening, I stopped by Marty's boxing gym like I did every Tuesday and Thursday. Marty was 62 years old, built like a fire hydrant, and had been teaching me to fight for the past 5 years. He was also the closest thing I had to a best friend. You look like hell, he said when I walked in. Feel like it too? I told him everything while we worked the heavy bag. Marty listened without interrupting, occasionally grunting his disapproval. So what's your plan? He asked when I finished. Divorce. Take her for everything I can. That's it? What else is there? Marty stopped the bag from swinging and looked at me seriously. Graham, you've been coming here for 5 years, and in all that time, I've never seen you really angry. Hurt, yeah. Frustrated, sure. But not angry. I'm angry now. No, you're not. You're sad. There's a difference. He was right, and I hated him for it. She made me look like a fool in front of the whole neighborhood, I said. So make her look like a fool back. How? Marty smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Kid, you've got 8 months of evidence that she's been cheating on you. You've got video of her laughing while you're in handcuffs. You've got text messages where she admits to planning the whole thing. And you're asking me how to make her look bad? I already sent the video to her boss. That's a start, but you're thinking too small. This woman tried to destroy you for entertainment. She wanted to break you down so completely that you'd just roll over and let her take everything in the divorce. So what do you suggest? I suggest you stop playing defense and start playing offense. But you gotta be smart about it. Don't do anything illegal. Don't do anything that makes you look like the bad guy. Just level the playing field. I spent the next 2 hours hitting the bag and thinking about what Marty had said. By the time I left the gym, I had a plan. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to the law office of Patricia Hendricks, the best divorce attorney in town. She was expensive, but I'd been saving money for years while Nora spent everything we made. This is quite a collection of evidence, Patricia said after reviewing everything I'd brought. Your wife's attorney is going to have a very difficult time arguing for alimony or a favorable asset split. Good. but I want more than just a fair divorce settlement." "What do you mean?" "I want her to understand that actions have consequences. She tried to humiliate me, and I want her to feel what that's like." Patricia raised an eyebrow. "Mr. O'Neill, I have to advise you that any attempt at revenge or retaliation could hurt your case. I'm not talking about doing anything illegal. I'm talking about making sure the truth comes out." "What truth?" I smiled. "All of it." That afternoon, I created a Facebook account under a fake name and joined every local community group I could find. Our town loved gossip, and I was about to give them the story of the year. The post was simple and factual. "Does anyone know if it's normal for police to arrest someone in their own driveway?" Asking because my neighbor got handcuffed last night while his wife laughed and filmed it for her boyfriend. Just wondering if this is some new kind of prank people are doing. I attached a screenshot of the body camera footage, just the part showing me in handcuffs while Nora laughed in the background. Within an hour, the post had 50 comments. Within 3 hours, it had been shared to 6 different local Facebook groups. By evening, it had over 300 reactions and was the talk of the town. The comments ranged from sympathetic, "That poor man," to outraged, "What kind of wife does that to her husband?" to curious, "Wait, is that Nora from the salon?" Several people recognized Nora and started sharing their own stories about her behavior at work, her gossiping about customers, her general attitude problem. Someone posted a photo from her Instagram showing her at an expensive restaurant the same night she told me she was working late. It was beautiful. My phone started ringing around 8 p.m. Nora, of course. "Graham, you have to take down that Facebook post." "What Facebook post?" "Don't lie to me, I know it was you." "Nora, I don't even have a Facebook account, you know that." "Then who?" She stopped, probably realizing that anyone could have posted it. The body camera footage was public record after all. "Maybe it was one of our neighbors," I suggested helpfully. "Mrs. Patterson did see everything through her window." "This is ruining my reputation." "Your reputation was ruined the moment you decided to have me arrested for your boyfriend's entertainment." "He's not my boyfriend." "Really? Because I have about 200 text messages that suggest otherwise." Another long silence. "What do you want, Graham?" "I want you to understand what it feels like to be humiliated in front of people you have to see every day." "Fine. You've made your point. Now make it stop." "I can't make it stop, Nora. That's the thing about consequences. Once they start rolling, they tend to keep going." I hung up and poured myself a beer. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The next morning brought news that Nora had been suspended from the salon, pending an investigation into her conduct unbecoming of a professional establishment. Sal had seen the Facebook post and wasn't happy about his business being associated with the drama, but that was just the beginning. I'd spent the night doing more research on Lance Pritchard. Turned out he wasn't just Nora's coworker. He was married to Sarah Pritchard, a kindergarten teacher at the local elementary school. They had 2 kids, ages 8 and 10. Nice family photos on Facebook, regular church attendance, the whole suburban dream. Sarah deserved to know what her husband was doing. I created a new email account and sent her a simple message. "I thought you should know that your husband Lance has been having an affair with his coworker Nora O'Neill for the past 8 months. I'm attaching some evidence. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this." I included screenshots of the most damning text messages, photos of Lance and Nora together that she'd posted on her Instagram, and credit card receipts from their hotel visits. Sarah's response came 2 hours later. "Thank you for telling me. I've suspected something was wrong for months. Would you be willing to testify in my divorce proceedings if needed?" I wrote back, "Absolutely." By noon, Lance had been served with divorce papers at the salon. According to my sources, Michelle, Nora's former best friend, who was now happy to dish gossip about her, Lance had a complete meltdown in front of customers and staff. Nora called me in a panic. "Graham, what did you do?" "About what?" "Sarah filed for divorce. She knows everything." "How is that my problem?" "You sent her those messages." "Did I?" "Don't play dumb. Who else would have done it?" "Nora, you've been having an affair for 8 months. You posted photos of yourself with Lance on social media. You used our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms. Did you really think his wife would never find out?" "You're destroying people's lives." "I'm not destroying anything. I'm just making sure the truth comes out." "What about Lance's kids? They're going to grow up in a broken home because of you." The audacity was breathtaking. "No, Nora. They're going to grow up in a broken home because their father decided to cheat on their mother. Just like Sophie is going to have to deal with the fact that her mother is a cheating, lying narcissist who had her own husband arrested for fun. Don't you dare bring Sophie into this. You brought Sophie into this the moment you decided to blow up our marriage. She's coming home for Thanksgiving next week, remember? What exactly are you planning to tell her?" Nora hung up without answering. That evening, I got a call from my daughter. "Dad, what's going on? Mom called me crying about some Facebook post in divorce papers." Sophie was 19, smart as a whip, and had been asking pointed questions about her mother's behavior for years. She'd noticed the late nights, the secretive phone calls, the way Nora had become increasingly cruel and dismissive toward me. "Your mother and I are getting divorced," I said simply. "Because of the Facebook thing?" "No, sweetheart, because she's been having an affair." A long pause. "With who?" "A guy from work. It's been going on for months." "Is that why she had you arrested?" So she'd already seen the video. Of course she had. It was all over social media by now. Partially, yes. She thought it would be funny to humiliate me in front of the whole neighborhood. "Dad, that's sick. Who does that to someone they're supposed to love?" "I don't know, Sophie. I really don't know." "Are you okay?" "I'm getting there." "Good. Because honestly, I'm not surprised. Mom's been acting crazy for years. I just didn't want to say anything." "You don't have to take sides, sweetheart." "I'm not taking sides, Dad. I'm just acknowledging reality." After we hung up, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Validation. My own daughter could see what I'd been living with. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't imagining things, and I wasn't overreacting. The next few days brought a steady stream of developments. Lance was fired from the salon after several customers complained about his unprofessional behavior during the divorce drama. Nora's suspension became permanent termination when Sal decided he couldn't afford to keep someone who brought so much negative attention to his business. The Facebook post had taken on a life of its own, spawning dozens of comment threads about infidelity, false police reports, and the general decline of common decency. Several people had shared their own stories of being betrayed by spouses, creating a whole community of support around the original incident. Nora was now unemployed, facing divorce proceedings, and had become the subject of town-wide gossip. But I wasn't done yet. I'd been thinking about what Marty said about playing offense, and I realized there was one more move I could make. One that would ensure Nora understood the full scope of what she'd started. Our friend group, the couples we'd socialized with for years, had been notably quiet since the scandal broke. These were people who'd attended our barbecues, celebrated holidays with us, shared countless dinners and conversations. They knew both of us well, and their silence spoke volumes. It was time to force them to pick a side. I decided to host a dinner party. The invitation went out to 6 couples, our core friend group that had been together for over a decade. The message was simple. As many of you know, Nora and I are getting divorced. Before this process goes any further, I'd like to get everyone together one last time to clear the air and say goodbye to this chapter of our lives. Saturday night, 7 p.m., my place. I'll provide dinner and drinks. 4 couples agreed to come. 2 declined with obviously fake excuses. I spent Saturday afternoon preparing. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, a decent bottle of wine. Nothing fancy, but respectable. The kind of meal we'd shared dozens of times before. Nora showed up 20 minutes late, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. She'd clearly been crying, and her usual perfect makeup couldn't quite hide the stress lines around her eyes. "I can't believe you're making me do this," she muttered as she walked past me into the house. "Nobody's making you do anything, Nora. You could have stayed home." "Right, and let you poison everyone against me." "I don't need to poison anyone against you. Your actions speak for themselves." The guests arrived in a cluster around 7:15, clearly having coordinated their arrival to avoid being alone with either of us. The atmosphere was tense from the moment they walked in. There was Tom and Jennifer Walsh, married 22 years, both accountants. Dave and Lisa Chen, high school sweethearts with 3 kids. Mike and Sarah Rodriguez, the youngest couple in our group at 15 years married. And finally Bob and Patricia Stevens, who'd been married almost as long as Nora and I had. Everyone knew why they were there, but nobody wanted to address it directly. We made small talk through dinner. Work, kids, the weather, anything but the elephant in the room. I played the perfect host, keeping glasses filled and conversation flowing. Nora sat at the opposite end of the table, picking at her food and contributing little. Finally, over dessert, Tom cleared his throat. "So, Graham, how are you holding up with everything that's been happening?" "I'm doing better than expected, actually. It's amazing how much clarity you get when someone shows you exactly who they really are." All eyes turned to Nora, who was staring at her plate. "We saw the video," Jennifer said quietly. "The one from Facebook." "I figured most people had by now." "Nora," Dave said, "what were you thinking?" Nora finally looked up, and I could see she'd been preparing for this moment. It was a stupid mistake, okay? I was angry because Graham's been working all the time, never home, never pays attention to me. I thought it would be funny to give him a scare. By having him arrested? Lisa asked incredulously. I didn't think they'd actually arrest him. I thought they'd just check it out and leave. But you filmed it, Sarah pointed out. You were laughing while he was in handcuffs. I was nervous. People laugh when they are nervous. The lies came so easily, so smoothly, that I almost admired her technique. If I didn't have the text messages proving she'd planned the whole thing with Lance, I might have almost believed her myself. What about Lance? Bob asked. The question hung in the air like a bomb about to explode. What about him? Nora, come on, Patricia said gently. We all know what's been going on. Nothing's been going on. Lance and I work together, that's all. I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots I'd prepared. Would you like me to read some of your text messages out loud? I asked calmly. I have 8 months' worth. Nora's face went white. You went through my phone? I went through our shared computer. The one where your messages automatically sync, the one you forgot about when you were planning your little performance with your boyfriend. Graham, don't... But I was already reading. March 15th, Lance says, can't wait to get you alone tonight. You reply, Graham's working late again, we'll have the whole evening. Lance says, I love how wet you get when we talk about getting caught. Stop it, Nora screamed. April 3rd. You tell Lance, I hate going home to Graham. He's so boring compared to you. Lance replies, leave him. We could be so good together. That's enough. Dave stood up from the table. Is it enough? I looked around the room at our friends, former friends, who were all staring at their hands or their plates or anywhere but at me. Because I've got about 50 more messages just like that, including the ones where they planned to have me arrested so Lance could watch. The silence was deafening. You all saw the video, I continued. You saw her laughing while I was face down on my own lawn. You heard her talking to someone on the phone, but none of you said anything. None of you called to check on me. None of you seemed to think there was anything wrong with what happened. Graham, Tom started. We didn't want to get involved. You didn't want to get involved. Right. But you're all here now, aren't you? Having dinner at my table, eating my food, pretending like we're all still friends. We are still friends, Jennifer said weakly. No, we're not. Friends don't stand by and watch someone get humiliated without saying a word. Friends don't make excuses for someone who commits crimes for entertainment. It wasn't a crime, Nora protested. Filing a false police report is a misdemeanor in this state. I could press charges if I wanted to. But you won't, she said, trying to sound confident. I smiled. Actually, I already did. This morning. The room erupted. Everyone started talking at once. Nora started crying. Chairs scraped against the floor as people stood up. You bastard, Nora screamed. You're trying to send me to jail. I'm not trying to do anything. I filed a complaint with the district attorney's office and provided them with all the evidence. What they do with it is up to them. This is insane, Mike said. Graham, she's your wife. She was my wife. Now she's just someone who tried to destroy me for fun. We should go, Sarah said, grabbing her purse. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, I agreed. But before you do, I want you all to understand something. For 23 years, I've been a good husband, a good friend, and a good man. I've helped you move houses, lent you money, babysat your kids, listened to your problems, and been there whenever you needed me. They all stopped moving toward the door. And when someone tried to destroy me, when my own wife had me arrested and humiliated in front of the entire neighborhood, not one of you called. Not one of you checked to see if I was okay. Not one of you said, hey, maybe this isn't right. Graham, Tom tried to interrupt. I'm not finished. You all made a choice. You decided that staying neutral was more important than standing up for what's right. You decided that avoiding drama was more important than supporting a friend, so now you get to live with that choice. I walked to the front door and opened it. You can all leave now, and don't bother coming back. They filed out in silence, not making eye contact, not saying goodbye. Nora was the last to leave. I hope you're happy, she said through her tears. You know what? For the first time in years, I actually am. She slammed the door behind her. I cleaned up the dishes, poured myself a scotch, and sat on my back porch looking at the stars. My phone buzzed with text messages, some from the dinner guests trying to explain themselves, others from people who'd heard about the evening's events through the gossip network. I deleted them all without reading them. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt truly at peace. I'd lost my wife, my friends, and probably my reputation in certain circles. But I'd gained something more valuable, my self-respect. The criminal charges against Nora were filed on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, it was front-page news in our local paper. Woman charged with false report after having husband arrested as prank. The article included quotes from Detective Alvarez about the waste of police resources, excerpts from the body camera footage, and a statement from the district attorney's office about taking false reports seriously. Nora's mugshot ran alongside a photo of me in handcuffs from that night. The contrast was striking. She called me that afternoon, hysterical. "Graham, you have to drop the charges. This is ruining my life." "I can't drop them, Nora. It's out of my hands now. The state is prosecuting you, not me." "But you could talk to them. You could tell them it was all a misunderstanding." "Was it a misunderstanding?" Silence. "Nora, I have text messages where you and Lance planned the whole thing. You specifically said you wanted to humiliate me. You filmed it for his entertainment. There's no misunderstanding here." "I'll lose everything. I can't get another job with a criminal record." "You should have thought about that before you committed a crime." "Please, Graham, I'm begging you." "The way I begged you not to call the police that night? That's different." "How is it different?" I was angry. You're never home, you don't pay attention to me, I felt like I was married to a stranger. So you decided to cheat on me and then have me arrested. That makes perfect sense. I made a mistake. You made a series of deliberate choices over 8 months. This isn't a mistake, Nora. This is who you are. She hung up on me. The divorce proceedings moved quickly after that. Patricia was right. With all the evidence I had, Nora's attorney couldn't argue for much. She got her car, her personal belongings, and a small settlement that barely covered her legal fees. I kept the house, the savings accounts, my pension, and most importantly, my dignity. The criminal case took longer. Nora hired an expensive lawyer who tried to argue that it was all a misunderstanding between spouses. But the text messages were damning, and the body camera footage spoke for itself. She pled guilty to filing a false report and got 6 months probation, a $1,000 fine, and 100 hours of community service. She also had to write a formal apology letter to the police department and pay restitution for the resources wasted on her prank. Lance's divorce was messier. Sarah took him for everything she could, and rightfully so. He ended up moving back in with his parents at age 38, paying child support for 2 kids he barely got to see. The salon closed 6 months later. Sal couldn't recover from the negative publicity and the loss of customers who didn't want to be associated with the drama. Our former friends tried to reach out a few times, sending carefully worded text messages about misunderstandings and moving forward. I ignored them all. Some bridges, once burned, shouldn't be rebuilt. Sophie came home for Christmas and stayed with me. She'd seen her mother a few times, but found the visits uncomfortable. "She keeps trying to make me feel sorry for her," Sophie told me over dinner. "She says you ruined her life and turned everyone against her." "What do you think?" "I think she ruined her own life, and you just made sure everyone knew about it." Smart kid. On New Year's Eve, I was cleaning out the garage when I found a box of old photos from our marriage. 23 years of birthdays, anniversaries, vacations, holidays, all those smiling faces, all those moments that seemed happy at the time. I started to throw them away, then stopped. These weren't just memories of Nora, they were memories of my life, of Sophie's childhood, of times when I genuinely thought we were building something together. I kept a few photos of Sophie and me, and one picture from our wedding day. Not because I miss Nora, but because I wanted to remember who I used to be. The man who believed in love, who trusted completely, who never imagined that the person sleeping next to him could be capable of such casual cruelty. That man was gone now, and I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But the man who replaced him was stronger, smarter, and had learned the most important lesson of his life. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. I threw the rest of the photos in the trash and went inside to pour myself a drink. At midnight, as fireworks exploded outside my window, I raised my glass in a toast to the new year and the new me, the man who fought back, the man who won. 3 months later, I was at Marty's gym when he asked me a question that caught me off guard. "You ever regret how you handled things with Nora?" I stopped hitting the heavy bag and thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I regret that it came to that. I regret that I married someone capable of what she did. I regret that I wasted 23 years of my life. But I don't regret fighting back." "Good," Marty said, "because you did the right thing. Sometimes people need to learn that actions have consequences. Even if those consequences destroy their life. Graham, she tried to destroy your life first. She just wasn't as good at it as you were." He was right. Nora had started a war she couldn't win, with weapons she didn't understand, against an opponent she'd underestimated. She thought I was weak, boring, predictable. She thought I'd just take whatever she dished out and ask for more. She was wrong. I finished my workout and drove home through the quiet streets of our small town, past the salon that used to employ Nora, past the police station where she'd been booked, past the houses of friends who were no longer friends. I felt no sadness, no regret, no guilt. I felt free. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Lance. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything that happened. You didn't deserve what we did to you." I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late to matter. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well while your enemies suffer the consequences of their own choices. I poured myself a scotch, sat on my back porch, and watched the stars come out. For the first time in 23 years, I was exactly where I wanted to be. Alone, at peace, and finally free from the woman who'd tried to destroy me for her own amusement. She'd wanted to see me broken. Instead, she'd made me whole.